And we're live. Welcome back, everybody, to Behind the ToolBelt, episode 250. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday edition. Today, we have another special guest. Stay tuned. We will be back after our short intro from our sponsors.
TC Backer. Roofing, siding, windows, gutters, solar. Roofing, siding, windows, gutters, solar. TC Backer.
Is your lead flow down? Whether you're a company owner, office staff, salesperson, or installer, you're a roofing rock star. We help you get more leads with custom SEO, Google Ads, and a pro website.
TC Backer.
We're back. Hey. Welcome back, everybody, to Wednesday, episode 250, Behind the ToolBelt. Almost at the 5-year mark. We're at the 4.80 years into this thing. Daily, weekly. Almost feel like it's daily, but it's weekly. We got RoofCon coming up in October. Got the team going down there. Got a couple other events coming up. We're hosting a golf outing. I just want to throw this out there because I keep forgetting to throw this out there. November 4th. We're looking for sponsors. We need foursomes. It's for a great cause. We're calling it, it's actually called the Swing 4 Recovery, Roofers in Recovery. We're trying to generate as much money as we possibly can to donate all the funds. We are handing out gifts, prizes. There'll be all kinds of, you'll get breakfast, lunch, dinner. That was donated by Mark Jones over at, I think it's JCB. I should have probably JCB Events. He'll have his food trucks there, so that'll be a good time. I think we're going to do something a little special, and we're going to call it Outdrive Ty. So people have the opportunity to try to outdrive me. Nice. Hopefully we can raise some money there. Of course, if you do beat me, we'll give you a prize on that. So come on out. If you're not doing anything, it's Monday. It's tee time is 8:30 shotgun tee off, 4-man scramble. My favorite type of golf. I don't know if I'll have time to golf it or not, but I will surely be there to kick your ass at the longest drive competition. So anyhow, not that I can drive, but it'll be
if fun. I drive up from Georgia, will I win the longest drive?
You might, although Eric O is coming over from Nebraska, but he's flying. But if you're driving,
if I'm driving,
okay, that makes a huge difference.
One up on it.
So before I forget, our wonderful guest Jay Bradley with roof nuts, and
Yeah.
also secure claims, and I'm sure many other things that you have on the horizon that you're working on right now.
Yep.
But Jay, thank you so much for coming on Beyond the Tool Belt, man. We appreciate you driving up or flying in. Did you fly in?
Yeah, I flew into BWI and did a little training in Baltimore last night. So.
Cool. Yeah, I saw your post, man. That's great.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, I wish I'd have had time to get up with you, but I'm glad that you came in a little bit early today.
Yeah.
We had some great conversations about who you are, where you came from, how the roofing industry found you. I got to share a little bit of my story. And here we are now. We get to share your story, my story with hopefully hundreds of thousands of people
Yeah.
over the course of the next few days here. And Jay, so why don't we talk about, how, a little bit kind of like what we talked about earlier, like what industry you came from, and then what encouraged you to get into the roofing space, I guess. Let's start there, and then we'll see where that takes us.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Jay Bradley, originally from Louisville, Kentucky. Went to high school in Dallas, Texas, Waxahachie, which is kind of funny now that a lot of the restoration people are from the town of Waxahachie, but I didn't know anything about it back then. I was a really good golfer. So I went to Mississippi State because I enjoyed teaching golf. I was an instructor and really liked that part of it, and played with some pretty cool people. And so ultimately what happened from that was moved to Starkville and Starkville, Mississippi, and got in the bar business and started working in bars. My parents didn't have a lot of money. I had to find a way to make ends meet, and got in the bar business. And probably around the age of 20, about 2 years into college, that was the dream, right? The dream changed from being a professional golfer, golf professional, into being a bar owner. And it's pretty funny, The Secret by Rhonda Byrne is a book that just resonates with me. And my mom spoke that language a lot of like, whatever your thoughts come reality and things like that. So I decided to take it to the test. So at 20 years old, I decided to have the thought that all I wanted to do was open a bar. And one thing led to another. At the age of 27, myself, my fiance, and my best friend opened a club, 10,000 square foot band venue called Cowbells in Starkville. Very successful, enjoyed it. We, were whooping everybody, had everything you wanted. And at the age of 34, my mom got sick. My parents had retired and moved down to Gulf Shores, Alabama. In Starkville, as far as everybody knew, I had that people, I guess, had the perception of success, but my bank account didn't necessarily show that. I was still paycheck to paycheck and wasn't really living the life that I was wanting, that I knew I could get out of life. And so I kept trying different stuff, network marketing and a few other things, and was successful in network marketing, but really didn't know where the world was going to take me. And what ended up happening, my mom got sick. So I had Blake buy me out of Cowbells, and Blake's my business partner today. And we may talk about that in a little while. He's been a very vital piece of this puzzle, along with my fiance, Kim, and a bunch of other people who came on my path. But moved down to Gulf Shores really without anything. They bought me out. I had 30 grand in my pocket, which is not a whole lot of money if you're moving and don't really have any connections or a job. And so moved down there, started doing little odds and end jobs. I was working at a restaurant. They had me doing GM work, and me and the owner didn't get along. So then I started RV detailing. I started a company called Aqua Squad. And so what would happen is we would go down and we would wash the RVs for all the snowbirds that couldn't get on their own roof and things like that. And started that, and it went really well during snowbird season. But then the summertime came and the fun stopped. And much like you and I having the conversation earlier, our people are our most important asset. And so I didn't want to get rid of my folks, but I knew I had to supplement my income. So long story short, answered an Indeed ad for a 1099 insurance claim specialist. Now, I didn't know what that meant at the time, but they said 1099, work when you want to, do what you want, eat what you kill, which was the interesting part to me, because I knew that I could outwork everybody. I didn't ever want to work hourly because I always worked harder than the guy next to me, right? So I went to that interview. They said it was roofing sales, and I thought immediately I couldn't do it, right? I was like, yeah, there's no way. I'm not going to get on a roof. I'm 350 pounds. There's no way I'm going to get on a roof. And the guy said, well, that doesn't mean, it's just a limitation, maybe we can figure it out. And I said, well, what could I do? What can I get really good at that would help the company? And so he said door knocking. He's like, if you can get really good at door knocking, then we'll send somebody to do the, inspections and so on and so forth. And this is way before drones, right? Before drones were in the industry. And so I did. So went and started knocking doors, and didn't really know what I was doing. They didn't train me. They did a little bit. I had Casey, who trained me, who's, you know, part of the reason I'm in the industry, Michael and a bunch of guys. And, you know, they were just really positive people. I really like the atmosphere of the company too. Super positive people. I think that makes a big difference too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
So started training, started going out knocking doors, and then I realized that this was actually something that I could get really into, because I started seeing the paychecks from other people because they were showing me at the end of the day. And I thought, well, I'm gonna get really good at this. So I decided I was gonna get 25 leads a week. And I don't know, you don't have Culver's up here, right? There's not a Culver's ice cream. No. Culver's it's out of Wisconsin, I think, or Minnesota, but they had just opened a place in Foley, Alabama, which is near Gulf Shores, is where I lived. And they got this, I don't know how to describe this without like you actually tasting the ice cream. It's like next level. Like there's just nothing like you take the spoon and you just kind of sort of like just put it into the ice cream, and like this. I've never been next to God, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty close. You know what I mean? Like it's just the most amazing thing. And at the time I would go every other day, right? Or I would do whatever it was. And, you know, I was much bigger back then, and, you know, I would do whatever. And so I was going every other day, and I was like, okay, so one hand, I need to get 25 leads to feed my family and do what I need to do to make ends meet. And the other hand, I love this little ice cream. It's like, you know, this like the two evils. So I had to do what one of my mentors said, which was trick the idiot, right? And so what I decided to do was I wasn't going to have the ice cream till I got my 25th lead of the day. So the first week I decided to do that. I got my 25th lead at 8 p.m. on Saturday night in Mobile, Alabama. And I drove an hour and 15 minutes back to Culver's and got the ice cream. Okay. So my insides were just excited as all get out, right? Okay. So the next week I do it and I get it at noon on Friday, right? And the next week I get it at, you know, like Thursday at 3 o'clock. Then 2 weeks later, back-to-back weeks, I get 13 on Monday, 12 on Tuesday. And then the next week I get 12 on Monday, 13 on Tuesday. And I'm overloading. Matter of fact, the production guy quit that was doing the inspections for me because it was too many inspections for him to do in the time. But what I realized was you can overcome any obstacle. It doesn't matter what it is, right? I thought not getting into roofing because I was too fat, right? And so it doesn't matter what your limitations or whatever your limitations you think in your head are. That's not your reality. I grew up as the fat kid that was dyslexic, that didn't know things, that rode the short bus, that went to the Learning Disability Center, that didn't go to the real school with everybody else. And my mom, my whole time, was my champion, saying, you can do better, you can do better, you can do better. And I was super blessed to find Kim, my fiance, who's my ride or die, who had that same sentiment with me. She knows I can be better. She knows I can do better. And so I've always had those people around me. And so long story short, got really good at knocking doors, and it was just not anything that I had set out to do. It was just out of necessity. And so I knocked a commercial deal. It was the largest church in Mobile, Alabama. It's called Dolphin Way Baptist Church. Got that one, went to like 14 meetings with them to finally solidify the actual commercial job. And then it turned out the owner I was working for, super nice guy, not his fault, right? Younger kid, didn't have the right documentation, unfortunately. And so I lost that job. Same day, my mom passes away. And so it was just devastating, right? That whole day. But I could hear my mom in the background saying, it's okay, you can overcome it. This is this is just another part of life, move on, move on. My dad's very much, helped me out too. And, Dad and I kind of got through it, and Kim, and in the end we started Roof Nuts, and I knew I loved knocking doors, and I didn't really know where that would take us, but we just started knocking doors for local roofing contractors, right? All around Alabama and so on and so forth. And then we started working with other contractors and helping them grow. And the first big break, I guess, was ice restoration. They were doing about 12 contracts a month. Went in there kind of as a GM consultant, got them to about 78 or 80 contracts a month from 12. And that kind of made a name for ourselves. And it's not me. I had a whole team, Charles and Scott and a bunch of other people that helped me get to this position. And, and so started doing that. And then CMR called, Steve and those guys. Josie Parks probably doesn't know this today, but Josie was the one that really gave us our first huge break as far as working with large contractors. Josie called and said, hey man, can you guys come down to Fort Myers? We need you to knock. We're kind of getting on the back end of this hurricane. I think it was Irma, I think is what it was. And it was kind of on the back end of Irma, and they could, they had maybe a couple months to file the claims and so on and so forth, and went down there and knocked for him. And then Grant Rocket starts calling from Apex Roofing and Restoration, who Grant is a mentor of mine, somebody that I look up to, probably one of the best guys I know in the industry. Like absolutely, like probably one of the best dudes I've ever met, and super motivated. He's 10 years younger than I am too, but just, I mean, absolutely knew exactly where he was going and had a big vision and grew a big company. So did all that, and then we just started knocking for roofing contractors all over the country. We did that for about 4 years, and I started doing a little bit of training. It wasn't like I advertised my training. Dean from Humboldt Roofing called and said, "Hey man, you know, I've seen your videos on Facebook." I used to make these little Facebook videos of me out knocking doors, and they were on the roofing groups. They used to let me share them on the roofing groups. They won't let me share them anymore, but I guess whoever owns the roofing groups or whatever. But I used to share like what the trials and tribulations were and what was going on that day and what objection I just got from a homeowner. And I think I did that for 2 reasons. I wanted to give back. I really like, you know, helping people. But then secondly, it gave me a social accountability, because people kind of expected my videos every day. And if I didn't go knock doors, I was doing them wrong, and so on and so forth. Long story short, I just kind of got to the point to where I guess people recognize who I was and were asking. And so Dean asked me if I can come help him with his company. Got with him. I showed them what we were doing. They really, it's not me, right? At the end of the day, I'm just showing them what we do, and then it's up to them to implement it, right? At the end of the day, I tell them what lures to use. And so they did it, and they grew, and he grew a very large company really quick. About 18 months, we 3X'd their company. And then we've done that subsequently for several companies since then. And we just kind of sort of get in and show them how to grow a door-to-door team. Then about 4 years ago, some of our northern contractors reached out and said, "Hey man, I want to work with you year round. How do we do this?" And I couldn't really just put physical people in place for them. So I knew back in the day we had ran telemarketing leads, and I knew there was kind of a way to challenge the status quo as far as the way telemarketing goes and the way people do it. A lot of people are hiding behind veils. There are some really good companies out there. If you can meet and shake the hand of the person that actually owns the company, is probably a big difference. But there's a ton of telemarketing people that are just shady and whatever else. So if I was going to do it, I was going to get out into the forefront. People were going to know who I was, and so on and so forth. So we did that, and that's been really good, and super blessed to have the partners we have. And so we're here today, and next year I'm wanting to do. Last night we did a free workshop, door-to-door workshop, and so what I'm looking to do is I want to really give back to the industry. So I'd love to do a bunch of like free door-to-door workshops next year. I'm going to try to do 4 to 6 of them. So anybody that's watching this, if you want me to come to your city, just let me know, hit it up in the comments, tell us what city to come to, and we'll make the final determination probably around Christmas and set the schedule for where we're going to go. I think one's dead set that we're definitely going to go to will be St. Louis, because we got a lot of friends there, and just had one of our really good customers pass away. So I'd love to go help their team if we could. And so, yeah, so long story short, there you go. That was, what was that, 27 minutes, Vic, something like that? You feel like?
Yeah, no, and you covered a lot of good stuff. I like how you touched on the personal stuff, and you know, we could keep talking about like, you know, what you've done for other contractors and stuff like that. And I'd like to get to that a little more into that. But I like how you brought up, you know, you were talking about your mom and how she inspired you to want to just keep moving and you know, don't let these things, you know, these disabilities perhaps define who you are. Don't let them make who you are. And what kept going through my mind is, you know, overcoming objections, overcoming the situations that life might, you know, throw at you, and don't let them define you, but let them create, you know, a better version of you. And, you know, there's a lot of people that we talk to, especially in the roofing industry, that may come to us with, you know, learning disabilities, or, you know, they just don't have anywhere else to go. You know what I mean? They don't have any skills. They don't have any trades. They don't have any education, lack of education, and have become some of the most successful salespeople, entrepreneurs, managers that I've known today. And that's what the roofing industry has really done for me. And I've watched it do that for so many other people and contractors in our space. And, you know, and, you know, having that motivational person in your corner telling you like, look, you can keep pushing through this. Don't let this define you. And I remember, you know, our stories are a lot alike, whether you know, we identified that earlier or not, but that's what went through my mind earlier was like, I grew up in a bar, you know what I mean? My mom and dad, and, bar, restaurant, catering business. My dad, was a mechanical engineer by trade, but also was a master carpenter. His dad, my grandfather, his brothers, my uncles were all still, some of them that are still alive are master carpenters. So I'm not new to carpentry, even back when I was a kid. And my dad ran things a little more firmer, a little more sterner. You know what I mean? But
Absolutely.
my mom was the one that was like, laying in bed with me at night when I was crying because I never studied for the test, the night before, and stuff like that. But she co-signed a lot of my shit as a kid growing up, but she also instilled in me the kindness that she had, the giving that she had. That's why we do half the stuff that we do. But the thing, I think she was one of a kind, which I'm sure a lot of people think their mothers were.
Yeah.
But what she had a special talent for was making me feel special.
Yeah.
And not the special ed type of kid that I was, right? But more so just making me feel like I was unique, that I was special, that I had special abilities, right? Like I had some disabilities. I also had a learning disability, where, I had to come up with other ways that I needed to study things. I had, and I still do things like that today. I have to read things a few more times because sometimes it gets a little backwards on me. Like I got a little touch of dyslexia, usually kicks in more now that I'm adult when fatigue starts to set in. My things start to get a little blurry and fuzzy on me.
Yeah.
And things like that. But I've never let those things define me. And a lot of that motivation, where that came from, was the things that my mom used to say to me to inspire me, like keep pushing out. And she helped me through a lot of things. But what I kept thinking about too is when you talked about that ice cream and earlier in our conversation, you were talking about that fire, right? That fire. And as stupid as this sounds, and whether you identified it or not, the ice cream at that time was your motivation.
Sure.
Right. Like that was the fuel for your fire. And it's funny. We were talking about Patrick Bet David, choose your enemies wisely. And it was kind of like you chose ice cream to be like, you're not necessarily your enemy, but like
a vice.
Yeah. Your vice to like, okay, I need to get 25 appointments set or else I can't have my ice cream. And it's like, that's how you learned, whether we knew it or not, or you knew it back then. But that's how you learn to overcome obstacles in your life, was setting these goals, these little mini goals. Yeah. Whether it was like, I'm going to outwork them, I'm going to outdo them, we're going to do more marketing, we're going to do more branding, we're going to do, you know what I mean? And how things have changed for us as our careers have started to grow and blossom and mature into something that, quite frankly, I didn't realize what this was going to turn into. But like I was telling you earlier, like 7 years ago, my motivation, that fire was much different as it is today. Right. But I need another goal. I need something, because you tend to hit a plateau in your career, or whether you're the owner or a manager, or you're the production manager of Behind a Tool Belt here, right? Yeah. You continuously, once you hit that goal, right, that sometimes we feel like we're never going to accomplish or achieve. But once you get there, sometimes you feel this feeling of like, now what?
Man, it's so funny you say that, because I say this all the time to people that I've helped reach their goal. And I just tell them, the top of one mountain is just the bottom of the next. Right. And it's about going and finding that next thing. It's about going and doing this. But at the same time, it's being able to focus on the little wins to have the big victory. Right. And that, I think it's so hard for people. They want $1 million a year. They want the nicest car in the world, and they want all these big things. But understanding that it takes the little victories to add up to those. It's like, you don't climb Mount Everest, you climb Mount Everest one step at a time.
One step at a time.
Not one step, not one full step. So, that's awesome. That's really good.
No, and that's the thing too. And it's tenacity, it's consistency, to be successful at anything, whether it's growing a family or growing a business, right? And there's different forms of success.
Same thing, right? Because after we talked, it's the same thing. Those two are.
Yeah, right. And my motivation today is what gets me out of bed. Yes, my family does. Okay, don't get me wrong, but more so than anything else, it's the team, pouring into the team, right? Like 7 years ago, my fire was much different than it is today. What I think about is creating opportunity for those that work around me with us today, more so than anything. And we talk about this a lot on here, is making sure our dream's big enough for everyone else's dream to fit in. Right. But let's take that one step further. Like I had mentioned, like let's make sure that our legacy is big enough for other people's legacies to fit in. Like I know Vic wants to make his mark on the world. Right. And hopefully he's finding his niche in the, he's a musician by trade. He came from the security alarm system industry. And now here he came to work for a roofing company because there was more possibilities. There was more opportunities, and there was a culture of things that we're accomplishing here. Yes, we're building roofs, but that has just been the vehicle for us. It wouldn't matter if we were slinging tires. Okay. Right. But whether it was the tire industry or the roofing industry, now we're not in the tire industry. We just so happen to be in the roofing industry, but it's been the vehicle for us to impact people's lives, whether it's homeowners' lives, whether it's insurance companies' lives, manufacturers, distribution. But most importantly today, right, that what's in front of me is the people that are also under this roof. That's what gets me out of bed to inspire them, to pour into them, to keep motivating them to accomplish goals and dreams and aspirations that they may not even knew existed, or that they could even fathom or knew that was attainable.
Yeah.
Right. Because I've pushed so many people out of their comfort zone, which continues to keep pushing me out of my comfort zone, because I got to continuously sharpen my skills. Yeah. Right. In order to become the CEO, the chief energy officer. I love your chief visionary officer. I'm the chief energy officer around here. I read a book by John Gordon, and he talks about the chief energy officer. That's my job today. My job today is to bring the energy. Hopefully it's not negative energy like it started out a little bit this morning. Poor Tam, if you're watching, I apologize. But I called her back and I was like, hey, I want to do over. Yeah. Not that I yelled or screamed at her, but she could tell I wasn't in a good headspace. I'm tired. A lot going on, a lot of good positive stuff, and inspiring. Sometimes it's tiring. Yeah. Okay. And that's kind of where I was at this morning. But long story short, it's funny like how things evolve. And once you hit that milestone, you got to continuously look for that next unattainable at times, what might appear unattainable goal or vision. Right. And keep shooting for that. But it's stacking those wins, those little mini victories that you were talking about. It's like that accumulate into that huge win. It's just because we won this battle doesn't mean we won the war type of metaphor, I guess. You know what I mean? You got to win all these little battles before you actually win the war, and let's face it, business is war, right? And unfortunately there's people that end up in your weight. And like Patrick Bet-David said, and choose your enemies wisely. And it's kind of like, so now my goals have to be much more greater than they were 5-10 years ago in order for me to keep this engine going, to allow other people's legacies to fit in my legacy. Sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent there for a minute, and hopefully most of that made sense. But that's kind of where I'm at. And it's like, I even found myself in a place in the business where it's kind of like, everyone's doing everything. You talk about your team being so great. We're like, again, our stories are so close, because I found myself in my career here, like, okay, so what am I supposed to do? Like, our team is so great. Like everything, I've not delegated everything. So then I had to identify kind of like, what is my job today? And the best way that I can sum this up is, I'm the person that needs to bring the vision, the mission, and the goals, right? Yeah. This is the vision. I'm going to cast the vision out to everybody. And I'm working on getting better at casting it, because our net is much bigger today than it was 12 months ago, 36 months ago, 72 months ago. So I gotta keep in mind that that net must be much bigger, that I need to cast. The vision needs to be, so this is the vision, guys. So this is the mission that we need to go on so we can all obtain this goal. Right? Because we're in this together. If they want to make more revenue, they want to live a better lifestyle. If they want to buy a new house or car, because those are the things that make my heart happy when I see someone come rolling in. They already got 2 cars. They got the house. Now they're buying the motorcycles. Right. And it's not about the materialistic things. It's really not. But yes, that makes you that instant gratification. Yeah. New Harley is going to make you happy for a few weeks, months, whatever. Yeah. That go by. It's much more than that, but it's the safety and it's the security that we provide people, right? Whether it's homeowners, whether it's our co-workers, our co-leaders,
So, okay, so you hit on something huge right there, and I don't know if you know like how big of a deal that is, because I go into several different roofing contracting companies, right? I'm always in it, and I think that maybe helps me have the vision of kind of what the normalcies is and the abnormalcies are of roofing contractors and the way that the thought process is. And what you just said with casting the big vision, first of all, is exactly right, and it's because now their vision is your vision and their dreams are your dreams. So you put that on your shoulder too, because when we first start out, it's about what do I want? Then it's about what do we want? Now it's about what does everybody want, right? And so we kind of add those on, and the great leaders really understand how to even all that out. So it's
for sure.
It's a big deal. And then having the mindset to put it in place with duplication and with delegation is a really big thing that I think a lot of owners have the struggle with. I hear this all the time. Well, they never close. Their closing percentage is always less than mine. Well, no kidding, right? I mean, yeah, you're the owner. You can say whatever you want to a homeowner. You can always do whatever, but just hire people, get them out there, let them sink or swim. You know what I mean? Like, obviously we want to train them and we want to do everything, but we certainly don't want to push dead bears up trees, right? But the ones that are worth us then sharing the dream with are the ones that we're going to ride with, right? And, you know, for me, it's, you know, I've got Zach and David and Brock and Blake. Blake has been a big part of me. You know, after Roof Nuts, Blake and I were business partners at Cowbells, and after Roof Nuts started really being successful, I'm the mouth, obviously. I'm the one that's out, you know, doing all this. Somebody's actually got to run the business. And that's what Blake's really good at. He's back at home running the business, and he's unbelievable at it. And I would trust him with anything. I don't even look at the bank account. He's the dude, you know? And so I can put full trust in him. Zach in the field with our door-to-door teams, I can put full trust in him that he's going to do what he does. Jack and Sarah that run our cold call center, full trust in them. I let them do what they do. I don't really do anything until there's an issue, right? Kim takes care of the house. She takes care of me, honestly. At the end of the day, Kim takes care of me. And that's important. To have somebody in your life, I think we discussed that, right? Is to have somebody so close to you that sometimes you need to be taken care of, because you're taking care of everybody else during the day. And when you come home, it's nice to have somebody take care of you. And I think you have that at home, right? As well. So, I mean, you know, if you're going to be successful in this industry, if you're going to be successful in any industry, you've got to surround yourself with people that are like-minded, that potentially can share the same vision, right? Maybe they don't see what we see sometimes. But a lot of times maybe it'll be a situation where it's like, okay, here's your responsibility and this is your walking orders. So then we can all have the same vision together, right? And so, that's a really good point.
It is. It you know, and it's fun. It's a fun journey. And then just to kind of circle back on like the different stages of, you know, when we start out, and I'm pretty sure I stole this from Patrick Bet-Davis, but the first step is survival. Right. When we get out, it's like we have bills to pay, mouths to feed, and some people never leave that area of business. Right. And then there's status. Right. Now there's a status, proving our haters wrong, having the nice house, keeping up with the Joneses. And I wrote this a long time ago. I have it in my notes. I call it my why, where I have these thoughts. I'll write things down. And it's funny because I haven't talked about this or even thought about this for a while. And most people slow down and settle at that level of the status level, right? And then there's the freedom. You touched on the freedom. It's like I want to make enough money so I don't have to go into the office every day. I want to spend more time with my family and so on, right? And then there's the purpose. Yeah, there's the purpose, right? Yeah. You hit that final level stage, right? Of purpose. Like, okay, right? Like I'm here now. How do I want to be remembered? So we're talking about legacy, right? How do I want to be remembered? How do I want to make an impact on other people's lives / my legacy? It's about realizing why I was put on this earth and pushing the limits of being the best version of myself, right? And doing things that have never been done before, helping others, having impact, coming to realize that money is only a tool that has given us the ability to do these things, right? And that's really what it comes down to, is like the money, just like roofing produces the monetary stuff. So then with that monetary stuff, then we can host 21 turkey salutes. We can do food drives. We can do diaper drives. You saw
I got a ton of diapers up there. It's awesome.
Right? Like we're always doing something, but what that has also done, right? That purpose, right? It's gotten everybody in the building involved now,
Yeah.
right? Now they're out trying to hustle people into giving us diapers. Right
Nice.
now,
Yeah.
now we have purpose, right? They have purpose. We've given them the empowerment, and that's how we've cultivated this culture around here of giving.
Yeah.
Right, having empathy, but it's also a culture of accountability.
Yeah.
Right, because accountability. You say the word accountability, people are like, "Oh my God, that's negative. I won't know part of that because that sounds like a bunch of work."
Yeah.
Right. Well, this isn't going to be easy, kids. But if you want to succeed, come here to work. Right.
Yeah.
Come hang out with us. Right. Because we're achieving monumental shit here. Right. Like we're opening up new locations. We're doing food drives across the country. Like that's the vision. Like we're not even talking about roofing.
Yeah.
We're talking about the impact that we're having on people's lives that are under this roof and outside of this roof. Right. When you can get people to buy into that vision, we can move mountains. We will hurdle Mount Everest. We won't just take it step by step. We're jumping over that bitch.
Yeah. Hell
You,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Together,
Absolutely.
I can't do it by myself. And I love how you talked about like, you know, your strengths. Your strength is to be in the mouth of the South, right?
Yeah.
From the South, right? Going out and telling everybody about Roof Nut.
Yeah.
Right. But you have partners and family members that are taking care of other facets of the business and the household.
Yeah.
Right. And it's so crucial. Speaking of household, it is so crucial to have that right partner.
Yeah.
Right. That understands like what we signed up for, like, because it's a we thing. Like we signed up for this. I'm going to hustle, chuck and jive all day long so we can have these nice things at home. We can make sure the kids got the things that they need. There's food in the refrigerator, but we're also going to instill good values in them of good work ethic and tenacity and all these things. And, you know, because we don't want to give anything, like nothing's been given. That's the one thing I talked about my dad, not to keep rambling on here, but my dad wasn't very nice, but I wouldn't have the work ethic that I have today because my dad was a firm believer that you have to earn it. We're not going to give you anything, but here it is. It's over here, like the ice cream. It just gave me goosebumps because it's a crazy metaphor, because that's what my dad did to me.
Yeah.
He's like, look, it's there, but I'm not giving it to you. You got to jump over this hurdle. You got to take it step by step up Mount Everest. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you want it, it's right here, kid. It's right there, but I'm not going to give it to you. You got to work 7 days a week or whatever it is, 12-hour days, because no one's going to give us anything. I'm not saying our network hasn't given us things, but we had to build that trust for people to respect us enough to start giving us things. But early on, we had to outwork everybody because I couldn't retain things.
I think the pain's got to be there too.
Yeah.
If I could explain to people, I went for 40 years of my life, paycheck to paycheck. I didn't understand what it was like to get over the mountain.
Yeah.
I just knew I wanted to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Now that, you know, not saying I'm rich by any stretch of the imagination, I'm comfortable. I have a secure funds. If something was to go wrong financially, we would be okay for a good long while. Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Not to impress you, but just to impress upon you what it felt like. Right. The whole time I was paycheck to paycheck, I was underwater, holding my breath. The pain that you feel in your chest every Friday when you can't make the pills, the pain that you feel for your family when you can't get them the things you can get them because you can't get above water to hand it to them, the pain that you feel, that burn. I didn't know that I was actually having that until I looked in my bank account one day and Blake finally stroked me a check and said, "This is your dividends for this quarter." And I breathed. I had a breath for the first time.
Yeah.
That is what I want to do. That's Moose's mission, right? That's what we're going to go to do these door-to-door camps and all this stuff. And is it analytical? Sure, right? I'm going to show you how to knock doors. I'm going to show you how to talk to people. I'm going to show you how to have a conversation at the door. I'm going to show you those things. But what I really want is to show people how to breathe. Mm-hmm. Because once you realize how nice it is to breathe, if you go back underwater, you know you can do it again.
Yeah.
Right. That's why these millionaires, they lose all their money. They go get it again because they learn how to do it. So I want to go around city to city and show people how to breathe again, because my mom would want to do that. And I want to carry Moose's mission on. And by the way, my mom's name is Moose, but I want to carry Moose's mission on and show people how to have their life, you know, different. And one of those big things, you know, you kind of struck on it. I think it's probably one of the biggest things that I see with sales reps that they don't understand to do initially when they go to do this is, if you want to sell 150 roofs this year, or you want to sell 200 roofs or whatever, okay, you can have that vision, you can see it, you can do all that stuff. If your significant other, okay, being as real as I can, doesn't share that vision, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
It's just never going to happen. So if you are trying to go to the next level and your significant other is not, and not understanding why you're not coming home and you're still signing contracts at 7:30, and not understanding why you got to go knock on Saturdays, and not understanding why you don't see them until 8 o'clock, they have to understand that it's a season, right? If you can put in a season in this industry and you can sell 150 roofs or whatever, you should be good enough at referrals that the next year you can take a little bit of a breath. And then the next year, you a little bit more of a breath. And then the next year, you should have a little bit more of a breath. I mean, you see these guys that are selling $16, $17 million in a year. The gentleman that did that, Dan or whatnot.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's because he built those relationships over time. And so it's about the season. But before you even do the season, you've got to sit down with your significant other and say, this has to be a shared journey, because you take so much time away from your family and you take so much time. It is, I've seen it to the point to where people that had the skills to do it didn't do it because their significant other was holding them back, and love got in the way. And I understand that 1000%. I've seen people that didn't necessarily have the skills, that had a really good significant other that pushed them to go do what they wanted to do. And they were able to make it because their significant other rooted them on from home. So my suggestion to any roofers, salespeople out there today that really want to go get it in 2025, right, is during Christmas, during whatever, think about how bad it hurts. Does it burn that you can't get your kids what you want? Does it burn that you can't buy that house that you're looking for? Does it burn that you don't have the truck that you want? Does it burn that you can't buy the right ring for the lady that deserves it? Does it burn that if you're a female sales rep, that you can't get your husband that hunting equipment? Does it burn that you can't get what they want during Christmas? If it burns that bad, then sometime between Christmas and New Year's, you need to sit down and have that family conversation. If you got kids, involve them. If you got the wife, involve them. And the wording is just, guys, we're going to go through a season so we don't have to do this anymore, and every Christmas will be different. And I can say that right now because I know of, just off the top of my head, 6 families that we've done that with, right? Like, we took one gentleman, I'm not going to say his name because I'm going to say numbers, but he was making $40,000 a year as a landscaper in 2021, right? This last year's W-9 was $280,000 in Atlanta, which is not a storm market, but he's just good. And he's a hustler. And he sat down with his family and his wife and his 2 girls and said, guys, we're going to do this. Like, we're going to go do this, and we're going to blow it out of the water. And the family bought in, he bought in. And every day when he comes home, he gets a pat on the back instead of a, hey, where the hell were you? That makes a big difference. So if you go home and you're on one mission and your family's on a different mission, it's time to sit down and have that conversation.
Yeah, no, I love it. You talked about so many good things there. I mean, I like the burn, because I know probably just about everybody listening to this podcast right now has felt that insecure burn, like, oh shit, that impending doom, that dark cloud that hangs over you, but it's going to take a lot of work, right? To get it. We can't give that to anybody. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have to put in the time, the consistency to build that referral pipeline that you talked about. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, because that's something that we try to train here to people. Like, look, it's a season, right? If you can get one good roofing season in, especially if we're spoon feeding you some leads, but when a storm comes through, it's assholes and elbows. And because of that one storm, the amount of referrals that are going to come a week, a month, a year, 3 years later. And that's honestly 50% of our business is from referrals, from probably business that I've done personally with people. Now, let's cut that in half and just say today, since I haven't been out selling a roof for a while, maybe only 25% of them, but it's because I put the work in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's a lot. And this is the thing. If you're in the roofing industry, if you're a sales manager or you're the owner of the company, if you should look at that, you should know what, ratio of leads, where they're coming from, right? Is it from door knocking, which is great. Okay. Is it SEOs? We touched on SEOs, Google pay per click, all that stuff. 50% of it, your goal should be 50% of your leads coming in should be from referrals, whether it's from your salespeople, from the managers, from the owner of the company. And if it's 10%, shoot for 20.
Yeah.
Right? Shoot for 20% of your calls that are coming in to the building should be from referrals. We just talked about this the other week with somebody. And that's something, because that's organic stuff. Like, you don't have to pay for referrals.
Right.
You don't have to pay for word of mouth. That is still the most 100%, not to keep talking about this, but that takes work, right? That if you don't want to struggle over Christmas, if you don't want to not be able to pay for your kids' school lunches, right? It takes work, but roofing sales can change people's lives.
And acquisition cost is a real number, by the way.
Yes, acquisition per
That is
lead,
a real number.
Absolutely, and that's what I was. I'm glad you brought that
huge,
up. But
huge.
you know, and if you can train your salespeople and understand, and maybe that's some of the point, because we have a couple guys that we're struggling with right now. Maybe we didn't point out deep enough, strong enough. Like, look, this is only a season of your life that you need to actually go out and put the work in and knock doors on Saturday.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes even Sunday mornings isn't. I mean, for argument's sake, because there's people that will be like, you can't be knocking people's doors. But I mean, early on, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So Sundays, maybe not in the mornings, but sometimes you just got to do it, especially if a storm hits. And even in a retail market, the canvas neighborhoods that we've done builds in, like, that should be salesmanship 101.
So I don't even know if I've ever told anybody this, really. There's a few people that know how Roof Nuts got built, right? Roof Nuts got built. We were a door-to-door company, and we were knocking doors, and we were doing all that stuff. But truly, until we got the telemarketing, we really were not a profitable necessarily company, right? It was just a job. Okay. And while I was building the telemarketing, the thing about for me was I didn't feel comfortable spending the client funds. And I see I train some cold call centers now where I explain to them the difference between client funds, because you could pay me today and maybe I don't fulfill your campaign and you want your money back. I need to get your money back in 24 hours. Right. That needs to be something that happens, because that's good business. Okay. And so there's a lot of call centers that start up today and you give them 1,700 and that's what they're paying the rent with. Right. And so I understood business enough to know that was not okay. So we had client funds, right, until we fulfilled the campaign. And then I would put it into my business account. But to do that, right, I had to humble myself. And there's a gentleman named Ryan. He worked for Apex. Another one named John. And if I didn't have a campaign for door to door and I was out in the world somewhere knocking, every single day I went and woke those salesmen up. They worked for Apex. They worked for Grant. And they would pay me $100 per lead. I was fine with it. Grant gave me my break at the end of the day. Okay. So I was fine with it. But if I was at home, I'd do $100 a lead. I would go knock doors for these guys. And that's how I paid my bills. Nobody else saw that. Ryan saw that, fiance saw that, a few other people saw that, but nobody really knew what it took to build the business. And there's no way for us to ever get that across to the people that work for us or work with us or any of that stuff.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I think the sacrifices that you've made to build the business that you've built, everyone here should be very appreciative of, because I know people, even where I come from in Georgia, I mean, TC Backer is like, that's the deal. Like, everybody's like, oh yeah, you can be like them. They're the one, you know what I mean? That type thing. People like working here. It seems like everybody seems to have really good even your competitors are like, hey man, Ty's the dude. You know what I mean? So if you're trying to grow something great, sometimes you got to make sacrifices that are not so pretty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to do
said
stuff
that,
so
that when people say it must be nice,
yeah,
working 7 days a week. Let's talk that's the, that they don't see that, right? They don't. And that's the thing, that's the sacrifice. And you're right. And most people, the people that suffer the most are the ones that are closest to you, to get back on that kick a little bit, those at home, you know what I mean, are the ones that have suffered the most as we're out, doing the deal, trying to build something for ourselves so we can make ends meet. Right. And, when you can finally get to that point where you can get your head just above water, right. It is. And it's like, without that pain, right. I think if you hand somebody something, you give them the keys to the kingdom, they don't appreciate it.
Right.
There's no reason they don't understand what it took to actually build something to appreciate that thing. So it's kind of going back to like what my dad said, you know, what he instilled in me, you know, we didn't get along a lot because I thought he was mean. Right. But I am who I am today because they came from hardship. My family, they didn't have nothing.
Right.
Right. My dad busted his ass to build what they got today. My dad and mom. I can't throw that out there. Plus us kids, we had that he showed us and instilled in us good work ethic, like what it takes. And no one's, whether someone gives you something or not, but he instilled in us that no one's going to give us anything in this world that we're going to have to work for. We're going to have to fight for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no reason we need to steal anything. There's no reason we need to belittle anybody. Just stay in our lane and put your head down and grind through it. Whatever that goal is, whatever that mission is, we got to go get it ourselves. Like I'm not a lottery player. I don't scratch off tickets and stuff like that. Like, so I wasn't dipped in shit that way.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where I was fed, but with a silver spoon. That didn't happen. Even if we had silver spoons, the old man wasn't breaking them out to show them to me. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't, I bought my first black and white TV. I picked fruit.
Yeah.
I picked fruit from the time I was too young to be working. If I wasn't helping my dad and it pissed him off because I actually went and got another job someplace else. So I couldn't work for the family business, but that's what, like, I knew if I needed something, I needed to work for it. I bought when Nintendo came out. I bought my first, I had Excite bike. I had a black and white TV in my room.
Excite bike.
Yeah, man, that was my shit.
Bro, I love some Excite bike now. Don't get you, oh man, I love some Excite
You know,
bike.
and we didn't get spoiled at Christmas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We had the
Same.
Christmas tree. We might have 2 or 3 gifts that we opened up, but that's how we were brought up. That's how we were raised. Unfortunately or fortunately, that's how he was brought up. If they even had Christmas trees, I don't even, you know.
So I think my parents, they didn't have the, so my dad was the work horse, right, for our family. My dad, I saw him when I was a young kid, even before he started at the Galleria in Louisville, Kentucky as a security officer. And by the time I was in middle school, he was the facility manager for the entire, mall. And then he was overseeing several malls. And I saw my dad go through the corporate ladder and was wildly successful and could have done anything in his life he ever wanted to do. Right. He didn't have, I'm glad that he hated his job because he and my mom both just hated going to work. They just didn't want to, they didn't like people having control over them. They want to do all that. So my parents hated their job so much. They loved life, right? They love life. So they showed me how to live, but they didn't have the mindset of an entrepreneur, right? At the end of the day. And so I was able to take their pain from them working for somebody to say, I never want to work for anybody. I want to do it for myself. But still, my dad, watching him succeed and grow through the corporate ladder really helped me at the end of the day, because I could see that you could start from here and you could be something. And what drives me nuts in the roofing industry, I'm going to be probably stepping on some toes a little bit here. What drives me nuts is I will go have a sit down, because when I go train companies, I'm not just like, hey, this is me, blah, 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 whatever, and then I'm out, right? Like, I like to build relationships with the people that are in the company. They all get my cell phone number. I want them to call me every week. I really want to be involved in the whole thing. Really, when it comes down to it, I'm going to get to the point where I'm only doing like 3 or 4 companies a year, because I want to just pour into those companies. The free stuff's different, but just actually when I go physically do it. But so many times when I sit down with them and I really want to get their why and I want to know what they're doing, they will say their kids is why they're doing this. Well, I want to do it for my kids. And okay, well, that's cool. Then why do you want to do it for your kids? Well, because I never got to have any nice things in life, blah, blah, blah. And then I go to call check in the month after, 4 weeks later, and all of a sudden they didn't show up for the sales meeting. They weren't there for the whatever. They didn't do whatever, and they're falling off track. So are you telling me your kids aren't important enough? Is that what you're really saying? Because you told me you're doing this for your kids. So your kid's not important enough for you to show up to a sales meeting where you can learn something, potentially make you more money to help you get your kid a toy during Christmas. You're telling me that it's not important enough for you to show up at a meeting that was scheduled for an adjuster because you wanted to go to the sub shop and get a sub instead of go to adjustment, whatever, right? I've heard all the stories in the world and all the excuses in the world. It's all excuses, right? They're all tools used by the weak at the end of the day. That's all an excuse is. So you have to make a decision. If you're going to say that it's your kids, though, I'm going to throw that stuff back in your face.
Mhm.
So don't tell me it's your kids, because if so, I'm going to hurt some feelings. And I know I don't have kids, but I know that if you're using your kids to say that you want to have success, then there is no other.
Mhm.
There is no option. There's no right or left. It is 100% success, and that's all you can envision.
Mhm.
So, you know, I hate it when people say, well, my why is my kids. Okay. Well, does it hurt bad enough to not get them the toys that you're going to show up to every meeting, that you're going to do with the things, that you're going to go knock the doors, that you can get out of the freaking truck,
Mhm.
that you can get out of the truck? Somebody, you know, most of the time I'm knocking or I'm training door-to-door companies. Getting out of the truck's the hard thing. I'm not going to lie. That's tough. Oh my gosh. I think when we lost Ben, that was one of the biggest, devastating moments in this industry, because the gorilla was the man.
Mhm.
I come in as the new guy, right? I came from the restaurant and I did all this. I'm pretty new. I'm a little less than a decade into this industry. So I learned from Deshaun. I learned from Adam Bensman, who's unbelievable. I learned from Becca Switzer, who's just amazing. Ben was somebody that I really leaned into hard to learn my stuff. Everything that I'm saying, I might say it differently, but I stole it from all of those great, amazing leaders. And the success maybe I had before this, but the actual skill set I got from them. And so Ben and the whole gorilla thing and getting out of the truck and just get out of the truck and all that good stuff, I mean, that is so important. So whatever it takes you to get out of the truck, right? And I promise you, once you get from underwater and your chest doesn't hurt anymore, it's going to be so worth it. Like, it's so worth it at the end of the day. So,
Yeah.
I just, come up with your why, make sure your why is not BS and you're not BSing yourself, and actually utilize that why to go get something.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think after this episode, I might have to go out and knock some doors.
There you go. Let's go. I'm ready.
You're starting to fire me.
Let's go hit that. You said there was a hailstorm. Let's go.
Right.
I'm in for it.
No doubt. No doubt. No, and you're so right. And it is that is the hardest part, is getting out of the door.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you can put things into perspective, because what you were talking about was some real life shit, right? Like, if you're telling me that you're doing this for your kids, right? But sometimes you need a kick in the ass and a reminder, like, that's right, I forgot I told you I am doing this for my kids.
Yeah.
Right. When you have that motivation, that fire, like, you need to figure out where can you grab that source of fire from? Right. Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of people, they don't know that they need that fuel. Like, right. I think we need to go on a journey and figure out, like, where can we grab some fuel from? Is it something that my mom said to me before she passed away? Is it something that my best friend had experienced? Is it something that I've experienced? We need to find something that will motivate us to open that door and have the confidence to knock on somebody's door and the willingness to want to help them. See, and I think a lot of times people get wrapped up in this stuff. It's like, what am I going to get out of this?
Man, that's so good. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what am I going to get out of this? Well, maybe your paradigm shift, the mindset needs to shift a little bit, right? Because unfortunately, that might have been what your problem is.
Yeah.
Why you haven't been successful at home, why you haven't been successful at work, is because you're coming in to get what's mine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And unfortunately, that's where you're screwing up. Success doesn't happen when I try to figure out all day long, what am I going to get out of this?
Yeah. And the funny thing is, success leaves clues too.
Mm-hmm.
You and I, when we sat down in your office, when I first got here, by the way, we just met each other.
Yep.
We shared some things that were in common. Mm-hmm. We both are into personal development. We both are always trying to better ourselves. We're both are driven type people. Success leaves clues. If you're not out, like, nobody told me to watch YouTube videos of Adam or Becca or any. I was trying to perfect my craft because I knew the better I could get, the more money I would make. So often I go to these companies and the sales reps want something that they're not willing to sacrifice a little extra time for. I mean, right now I'm trying to learn self-managing for Secure Claim, and I'm really trying to get it down. And I got Chad Michaels stuff, and I got, and I'm becoming a student again, which is something that I'm just sick at. Every time I don't know something, it drives me nuts, and I have to learn more about it. And trying to find some type of consistency out of the insurance industry is like ridiculous anyway. But I'm trying to learn because I want to be able to take the time to learn, while the contractors I can help are out doing what they need to do. So then I can come back home and help them more do what they're doing. So I have a completely different mindset with Secure Claim. With Roof Nuts, it was about getting me to where I could breathe again.
Of course.
With Secure Claim, I want to help those guys get to the point to where they feel like they can breathe again.
Yeah.
Right. And so education and doing it yourself, nobody is going to do it. I think if you're a roofing owner out there and you're having to push a bunch of dead bears up trees, you got to quit doing that. Just go get more damn bears. Just go get more bears.
Yeah.
That's it. They're either got it or they don't. I'm so sorry. I hate it. Everybody talks about training in the industry. I think you should train them. I definitely think everybody should be trained. I think everybody needs to understand the industry. But at the same time, you very rarely are going to be able to be a prophet in your own land, right? You probably have enough division between who you are and where everything, and people see you differently. But you're talking about a $1 or $3 million roofing owner that's trying to motivate their team. Very rare, very seldom is that going to happen, right? You can't be a prophet in your own land. By the end of it, if you keep trying to motivate them using those type words instead of showing them what to do, and you'll get the text, "Hey guys, we can do it. Hey guys, we're gonna kill it this week." Blah blah blah. Like a lot of times that kind of just falls on deaf ears, right? If you send them a personal text that says, "Hey man, how's Eric, your kid, doing this week?" Right? If that was their why, and their why for what they're doing is for Eric, send them that message instead of the rah-rah stuff, because that shows that you care, right? It makes a huge difference. So if you're a $1 to $3 million business owner and you're trying to move forward, first of all, come with a really good recruiting program. However, to recruit, hire, and train people, put them all through a same system. Becca Switcher's got some great stuff. There's a ton of stuff out there. I can help you with it, whatever. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I see so many people that are just wasting so much of their precious time pushing dead bears up trees, and it just drives me nuts.
No, I've seen it. I've done it.
I do it all the time. I do it every day. I should fire half of my, you know what I mean?
I get it. I get it. And you touched on something briefly there. It's like, I think a lot of people too that are in the $1 to $3 million range, I think they want to coach from the desk. Right. But unfortunately, and I'm thinking back to like when, we started out, like I was in the trenches every day, side by side with my team, earning that respect, because I think that's the thing too. It's like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but I don't know are you even capable of doing this yourself? And, that was like a learning curve and a hurdle that I had to get through. One was getting myself out of the trenches where I could be more impactful for the company. Right. That was a huge learning curve. But early on, I think we've gained that respect because we were closing deals. During COVID, when the state of Pennsylvania closed down, but we stayed open the first quarter, I don't remember, I think it was 2020 or 2019. I did $1 million in sales myself in 90 days.
Wow.
In 90 days. And I may have only mentioned that 2 or 3 times. Like I'm not out, but those that chose to work with me, they saw that. And the reason why I did that wasn't because what I could get mines. It was because I knew that there was mouths that needed to be fed that relied on us.
Absolutely.
That's why I did it. I went back out in the trenches again, and I'm willing and capable and able to do that. I still drive a pickup most times with a ladder on it.
The hardest part with COVID was not talking to people for so long. I was knocking doors there in COVID, and you knock a door and the guy was like, "Somebody besides my wife, please, let's talk. Let's have a 3-hour-long conversation." It's like, bro, I'm trying to make money. Like I gotta go on to the next one. Like,
No, that was funny because we typically were scheduling appointments about an hour in between each one. Well, we had to put 2 hours in between the appointments because we were there for a good hour or two. Definitely. No, that's funny. It's good stuff. All right. Well, we've exceeded our 1 hour mark.
Holy cow. Did we really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know. But such a great episode. I mean, we talked about a lot of good stuff, a lot of different stuff. We covered, typically, when we host the podcast here, we brought a lot of good stuff out, and a lot of good content, I believe, for our viewers and listeners and stuff. So anybody out there that hasn't liked, loved, subscribed to our YouTube channel, Spotify, Google, please share this with your friends, because this has been probably, again, I've been saying this for the past 10 weeks in a row because the people we've had on the show have been just freaking amazing. The content, the information, the talent that the people, and you're included in that. So again, I don't know who we're bumping down here, but definitely within the top 3 episodes is probably my favorite.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, in the top 3 for
Awesome.
sure. So thank you for making the trek up here, man, to hang out with us today. It's been a joy. It's been a pleasure, and I'm sure we're going to stay in touch.
Absolutely.
And we'll probably see you on the roofing conference circuit somewhere along the way this season that's coming up on us here real quick.
Cool.
But thank you.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, Vic. Thank you as well. Appreciate all the hard work you're doing for everybody. And the show always looks awesome. And the behind the scenes there, Vic's killing it. So thank you as well. Appreciate you, Todd. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you taking my phone call even. I know you're busy. So
no problem. Thank you. And thank you everybody for watching. Again, don't forget to like, love, subscribe. Swing for Recovery, November 4th. We need some more hole sponsors at $250 a piece. We can get your name on a yard sign, parked it at a hole, and we need foursome. So please come to our rescue and help us make this a successful outing for roofers in recovery. Till then, you guys have a great week.